Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Phil DePaul. Phil, thank you so much for being here today.
Let's do it, Aaron.
We're going to have a lot of fun today, but we're just going to start. We're going to come off the bat. We had some fun offline before. I just want to say you went from Staten Island to Long Island. Maybe one day you'll get to the real island, which is Manhattan. Boom, done. Let's move on. It's my show. I can say whatever I want.
I went the wrong way. Staten Islanders would say I went the wrong way. I was supposed to go to Jersey.
Again, you can run from greatness. You can run from glory. You can go further away. You can go to wherever you want. But until you realize, you know what? Here's what I'll say to you. The day you become honest with yourself and you realize that people like me who are born and raised in the greatest city in the world, in Manhattan, in the core of the Big Apple, in the real city, you circumvented greatness. First step to greatness is understanding, is becoming true to oneself. You circumvented it. As long as you admit that, we're good. We can keep having a conversation. I'm going to admit.
Different people define greatness different ways.
Said like a guy from Staten Island who lives in Long Island. I totally get it. Soft. Okay, fine. It's totally fine. It is what it is. It's fine. It's fine, Phil. Listen, I don't want to derail the show. I don't want to offend you too much. It's my show, and I can say whatever the heck I want.
Yes, you can.
Everybody knows who listens to the show that I'm in the insurance business. We do a lot of work with people in your business, in the restoration, coming through when we need people like you most. I will say, for those who are listening, Phil and I have never done business together. So this has nothing to do with insurance. We're going to talk about it. Maybe one day we will. I hope we do. But there's a certain type of crazy that you have to be in any sort of home service business, especially the home service businesses that are the urgency, where not only do I assume you want the urgency or are okay with it, but you love it. It's like my good friend Bradley Flowers. He has a picture. I've spoken this before on the show. He has a picture of a buffalo in his office. If you ask him why he has a picture of a buffalo in his office, he says because the buffalo runs into the storm. See, you're getting amped up by the question.
I like that.
Like there's a certain type of
spirit animal now.
Yeah, there's a certain type of crazy in the best possible way to be the guy who runs into the storm. Yet you've chosen time and time again to be that guy. So take us back to Staten Island, where that crazy comes from in the best possible way, and then bring us to today of like how you bring that passion to your business.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd love to give credit to the pollution, to the water quality. I lived really close to the dump. You know, I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. You know, radioactive spiders made Spider-Man. So like I guess I've just been shaped by toxic things. So whatever's driven me to sort of drive into that brick wall, right? To run into the eye of the storm. I couldn't tell you where it's come from, but I'm going to use that word driven. I think that if you've read the book by, I think it's Douglas Brackman, called Driven, it helped me. And I read that maybe a year or two ago. I felt like I was seen. I felt like I saw myself for the first time in a long time. So I'm going to say that there's something genetic inside of me that, you know, my wiring, my programming, my zeros and ones, my X's and Y chromosomes that make me the way that I am. But I guess then there are people even with that who maybe act upon that form of crazy. And I guess I'm just one of them. So I was a backyard wrestler too, Aaron. I mean, the ICW champion of Staten Island. Like these things, you know, greatness sometimes is just within us.
Holy, okay. You know what? I apologize to our listeners. I'm going to say this off the bat. Okay. This podcast is going totally off the rails. It's like episode 150 at this point or something like that. Scratch everything I said from the beginning. Take us to the freaking backyard wrestling. Like, come on, bro. What is that? Okay. I'm from the city. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Exactly. You don't have a backyard. You can't even imagine that.
Okay, hold on. Here's what I'm really imagining. Like you see sometimes on like social media, there's literally like it's literally in like some backyard or tiny little gym, and you're the wrestler, and it's not quite fake and it's not quite real because the production is not good enough to have the fake spikes. So when the guy throws you on the spikes, they're actually real. but it's planned that he's going to throw you on the spikes, but you have to be the guy who gets thrown on the spikes with the spikes. And like the table is not a fake table because it doesn't go in because the production
Yeah,
quality is
it's
not
real
that good.
fakeness. Yeah.
So you were the I. One second. You were the I. What was your?
ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling. I mean, we're talking about my adolescence here. This is my teenage years, and I was the commissioner of a backyard wrestling federation. So much so, we were on public access television, throwing ourselves off of fences and onto mattresses and hitting each other with chairs.
I've
That
never
people
applauded for anyone on the podcast.
people recognized us on the street. We literally had strangers.
Of Staten Island or
Yeah,
anywhere else?
yeah. One kid in his band of homies wanted to like beat up my small group of friends one day, and then they recognized us, and he wound up joining the federation. Another guy and his sister came in. He was like the character with a mask, and like it was like this little thing that happened. You know, it
I'm
didn't put
gonna
a
be
dent in the universe,
guys.
but
I'm gonna be totally honest. You know that anyone who listens to this show knows that I love reading parts of bios, and like Phil is laughing right now. I guess when I read this in preparing for the show last night, I totally glossed over this part of your bio because I thought it was a joke. So I just want to read this, and then we're actually going to get into what the podcast is about. Okay,
I
okay,
don't even know
okay.
what you're gonna say, right?
No, I'm going to read this part. Here we go. He was fascinated with competition, powered by an internal desire to go deep. It all began with a successful e-com website from 1998 to 2004. To the subject matter, this is where I thought we went to joking. I'm going to be honest. Professional wrestling. He takes great pride in the Backyard Wrestling Federation he founded and televised in high school, where his passion and vision came together to form his first brainchild. Okay, I'm putting this all together now. I have here's my one question. And how the heck you get your parents behind this?
Yeah, right. It was in my backyard. It actually didn't start in my backyard. We were
Terrible
moving.
insurance, by the way. Who the heck did your
Oh
insurance?
my God, they did not know the risk that that the homeowners were taking. It started at a friend's backyard, big backyard, where we piled mattresses, and then it moved to another friend's backyard where we like stacked them in another arrangement. And neither one of those arrangements worked, and then they wound up coming to my house. And yeah, that wound up becoming like the home arena. And I can guarantee you that my family was exposed. There was exposure there that, I'm glad to say that.
Loyal listeners, if you were a minor and you were injured in the DePaul household in Staten Island due to
Shh,
backyard wrestling, reach
shh.
out to me today. I'll find you a good lawyer. Okay. Holy cow, I didn't think this was going to go there. Okay. It's 3:30 on a Tuesday. You have the energy. You have the passion. You see it in your social. It comes through. You see it in your bio. Boom, zeal. Boom, bold action. Unstoppable enthusiasm. You've been grinding as an entrepreneur since 2019. Forget about the childhood wrestling. Seriously. How? How do you still have the energy? How do you still have the zeal? Boom, zeal. It's nice to say it. It sounds catchy. It's fun. Take us to the moments. Take us to the way you get that drive to stay up.
Yeah, it really goes back to the idea of I am driven and the fact that I don't know where it comes from. And by the way, it's not an infinite source, right? I mean, you wake up in the morning, some days you got a little more zeal than others, right? Some days you bring the boom a little bit stronger, a little bit louder at the right frequency. But the only thing that I am truly good at is being myself. So I think that Boom Zeal is probably more a journey of authenticity. Of I hope I can drop the f bomb, but how many less can I give today than I gave yesterday? In a way that I care less about how I'm perceived and what people think and feel. And that's not to say that I don't care about other people's feelings. I don't want to change the way that I live my life based on factors that I can't control, So how can I have a positive influence? First and foremost, I talk about leadership and leadership being first you must lead thyself before anybody else is going to follow, and use you as the example for how to lead themselves. So I think that, Boom Zeal is a self-expression in terms of how can I just be me? And then defining who am I? What am I in some of my truest, you know, rawest form in a way that other people can relate to or at least identify. Like I talk about Kool-Aid all the time. So if somebody just sips my Kool-Aid, I either want you to start chugging it or spit it out. right? There's no in the middle. I'm not big on the middle ground. I'm not big on good enough. I'm not big on mediocrity. So I don't strive to be a polarizing figure. I just strive to not sit in the gray any longer than I have to. So I think that when you're kind of looking at me holistically, my entrepreneurial journey, when I bought into my first franchise, there's franchises are kind of referred to as like businesses in a box, and some of them are more scripted and specific than others. And the ones that I bought into are pretty open ended. I'm a collaborator and a contributor in them, so I like the opportunity to inject myself in a way where I can apply my own passion to doing a thing. And if I enjoy doing the thing, then right, it doesn't really feel like work, or at least the hustle or the grind feels less grinding if you know why you're doing it.
I absolutely love that. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you something amazing. You just remind me of something in my own personal life. And that is that, when I started doing a little bit of marketing, it was 2020. I was stuck in my attic, COVID. How are people going to know? I was the networking guy. I love being the guy with the personality in a pale, stale, and male business. And I think and what's crazy about, and then, this whole, you have the Boom Zeal thing. I'm the NY risk advisor. It's literally my license plates. And my parents at the time, who I work with, my father I worked with until he passed away, and my mother I'm still lucky to work with every day. We're kind of like on the fence about this tenacity or the individuality coming out at the firm. And obviously we had a conversation about things I wasn't going to do. I wasn't going to, make videos about illegal things. I wasn't going to become some crazy person. You weren't going to catch me, eating a banana, jumping out of an airplane, talking about insurance. Like that was like so off brand. What's amazing about that attitude that you have about the Kool-Aid, and I love that idea, like you either love it or hate it, is the people who love it will lead to more financial success than even if the people who spit it out all bought from you, you'd be miserable. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that you should, and I think you're right, that doesn't mean that you should make it your life's mission to turn people off of your business if they don't like the way you're operating. But I think it's like, if you can't tolerate my energy, if you don't like my energy, if you don't like the way that I come at things, if you don't like, a little bit of sarcasm here, that doesn't mean that I'm going to curse you out to your face.
Reject it.
And by the way, it's not going to work for the two of us in the service business. Yeah. You're going to be miserable and I'm going to be miserable. Yes, I might make a little bit less money. And I think that there is some sort of a middle ground where it's like, hey, I think this guy's a little nuts, but I kind of like his style. And by the way, he comes through for me when I need him. So like, I'll go with it. That's not spitting it out. That's kind of like sipping it slowly, for lack of a better term.
How I like
it's like, hey,
how I like
I'm not going to, yeah. Like I don't want the Kool-Aid every day, but like, it doesn't disgust me. There's a time and place for it. And I think that so many people today are miserable because they think that they need to be everything to everyone, and they squash that. And again, I'm not saying that you should be the vulgar, inappropriate person who goes to a synagogue or a temple wearing a bikini. I'm not saying that. And just to get eyeballs on you. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, not for the sake of doing it, but again, if you can attach doing things that feel right, and again, if they serve somebody beyond yourself, I think that the idea of being of service, right? Because if you're selfish and it's all about you, like, and when I refer to Boom Zeal, I've thought about it as a personal brand or an umbrella brand, or the truth is Boom Zeal don't sell anything. I think the longer that I can avoid turning it into a money model and monetizing it, the more it can actually stand for something, for it to be more of a values brand that helps people self-identify and self-select. And I think in terms of, you want to build community, and the community doesn't need to be big. It's truly quality over quantity. The idea of my kind of people, and the word tribe is something that comes up a lot, that I refer to my tribe of people who opt in. Again, the self-selection of, and where does culture come from? Like, or where does cult come from? It comes from culture. There's a little bit of, extreme thought or belief or alignment there. So it's like, what's the right amount of crazy? And hey, are you my kind of crazy? Because I think we're all a little nuts. So the more that we tap into who we are and who we want to be, and align ourselves with those kind of people, I think that leads to richer, more meaningful lives. So having that community that buys from you and sells for you, I think should be the ultimate goal. And, trying to find your tribe. And that's that's the path that I'm on.
And I'll tell you two unbelievable things about that. And I agree with you 1,000%. There's very few people that have come onto this podcast that I agree with as much as everything that you're saying. One is, I actually think that you will see more financial success. I actually think that when you're living that and you have that energy and you have that tribe supporting you, rather than trying to be everything to everyone else, in the short term, you may say, but I can't sell to this group because they're going to be like, turned off by me. But in the long run, I think because you'll keep hustling in your way, you'll see a lot of success there. And I think the second thing is so many people are going to hear this and so many people are going to think, and I've been told this in my career, that by doing that, you're running away from criticism and you don't be held accountable. And my view is just the opposite. When you have the tribe of people, when they speak, you listen. When that person comes to you and says, hey, listen, Phil, like it's like when my wife says to me, hey, you listen, that idea you have or that the way you handle that situation, my mom's saying, like, I think you.
And what you say matters. Like there are
What I'm saying is, then those people have 100 impact. Every time they speak, you're going to listen, as opposed to a bunch of people who are like, when you're not sure if they have your best interest in mind, you're not sure if they want to see your growth. So you're like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure if I'm going to internalize it because you spit out my Kool-Aid. So you didn't drink the Kool-Aid. But if you're willing to drink the Kool-Aid, you could smack me around because I know you're actually going to be the person who's going to pick me up afterwards.
Yeah. And you were talking about the like financial gain, financial success. I think if for people who like I view money as a means to an end, not an end in and of itself, and I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way. But if you think in terms of attracting the right kind of energy, like spiritually and energetically, if you put more units of those things in the right direction with the right people, you will always get more back. So guess what? I believe that money and success, like in that sense, follows. Right. I think that my belief is that it's sometimes a lagging metric of the first thing, which is that like, do I feel aligned? Do I feel more like me? Is good vibes being put out into the right audience and into the right community in the right direction. I think they're gonna bang around and come back to you exponentially. And I think it's like that law of attraction. Same thing with financial success. So I think that all those things are connected, and I think life is a journey of us figuring those things out. And the faster that we figure them out, then maybe the more full of a life and impactful one that we could live. I love playing the game of business, and business's scoreboard is money, right? So that's why we talk about it, because it's kind of a universal.
And customers and relationships. Meaning, I think that when, especially in a business, and I actually do want to ask you some questions about your businesses
Good.
because I think that our listeners will see some value in that. But I think that a lot of that is at a certain point, if a person wants to slow down, and everybody eventually has to slow down. I hate to be the one to tell you that. Right now, you and I have a tremendous amount of energy. You have another coffee. I have another coffee. But there'll be a time. It could be 20 years, 30 years, whatever that is. And if a person ever wants to slow down, it's about those relationships and those customers that they've
Yeah.
engaged with. You've chosen a career in the home service business. A lot of the people who listen to this podcast and the feedback that I get, and by the way, unless it's a huge number and I'm waiting on those sponsors or those people that want to take over the podcast, but one of the reasons why this is wholly independent, a passion project, as you said, like the tribe, like the Boom Zeals, because I can say whatever I want, and I hope that people get the nuggets, and I can have who I want on the show. But a lot of the people who listen to this are searching for that calling, are searching for that meaningful career and the way to help others or do well by doing good, as we say on the podcast. And I feel like the home services business is ripe for that, is ripe for the people that are willing to put in just a little bit of work. I mean, a lot of work in the beginning, but, are willing to do the work, are willing to get their elbows a little dirty. Not crazy. That doesn't mean you have to be the person who's snaking out people's toilets.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
I'm
that.
not.
I don't, right? You know what I'm saying? But people who are willing to do that, get their elbows dug in a little bit, willing to hustle. And I feel like there's endless opportunities, yet nobody thinks about it. So I wanted to ask you to pitch the home service business, why everyone should think about it, or who should get into it, or
I like that. Let's think of it as an awareness campaign, because I'm not necessarily a direct advocate, because the truth is it's hard. I've always been adjacent to construction and home services and the trades. I grew up in a household. My father's a lifelong plumber. So he spent 40 plus years inside the New York City Plumbers Union. And now we're kind of doing our own thing together on Long
great
Island.
career. Great
Um,
career, by the way.
yep, it
By the
is.
way,
And
one
you
of
know what's funny?
the
You know what he
trade,
said all my
the
life?
trade. AI, guess what? ChatGPT ain't coming for him.
What he said all my life was, I don't want you to follow my footsteps. And like now here I am in this day and age. And I'm kind of like, man, like I like doing pop-up events at career days and talking to kids who are in, whether it's high school or college. And just, again, I think of it as awareness campaigning. I want people to make up their own minds. And I think that in home services, you have the opportunity, if you're going to be a producer in home services, like you will eat. If you learn actual trade skills, you'll never go hungry. You'll be highly employable in a day and age where, I don't know, a lot of skills are becoming commoditized, like you say. So as an entrepreneur in the home services business, you got to have patience and you got to have persistence and you got to have focus. But if you do that, and I'm struggling through that, by the way. I'm preaching, but I'm really trying to teach myself to remind myself that it takes a while to build a machine. And that's what I'm trying to build with my home service business, is one that it doesn't rely on like my own blue collar labor or any unicorns, because a lot of businesses are built around, especially plumbing companies, owner operator. It's like the Smith and Sons Plumbing. It's like as soon as the bloodline runs out, the business is dead. And you're like, well, if we think in terms of like Jim Collins, good to great, built to last, that kind of an organization, an enterprise that means something beyond just a founder, and being like the genius with 1,000 helpers, then like what are we building and how does it serve the community? And what's great about home services is nobody's ever going to want to not take a hot shower, have running water, have a toilet that flushes rather than a hole in the dirt in the yard. If you have a backyard, of course, that is. So home services ain't going anywhere. And I heard this from somebody at a very young age, and I bring it up a lot. It's that everyone has got to shower and shave. And you're like, oh yeah, you're right. In the day of AI, like these things remain to be true. Window treatments are optional. Working plumbing and the summer is coming, the sweltering humidity, people like comfort, right? We want air conditioning, we want all that good stuff. So there is opportunity, but there is challenge because it is hard. It's hard to be really good in a particular trade. And how do you scale that? It's a tricky thing, but man, what it gives me is a platform to that I can apply those Boom Zeal passions toward and serve a community by providing a valuable service.
I want to ask you. First of all, I love that, and also, there's nothing better than like all heroes don't wear capes. But dude, come and fix my AC when it's 90 degrees outside. You're a freaking hero. You're Superman.
There's probably a gratuity, right?
Yeah, unclog the. But I'm saying unclog the toilet, unclog the sewer line when you got a bunch of kids. Like people underestimate it. I'm curious to know, what does your father say now? Like right now, if you were to ask him, hey, what are your thoughts on? Obviously, he's building the business with you, but I'm just saying like. He didn't want you to follow in his footsteps, but I'm
He'd
guessing
probably say he's on brand. He'd probably say the same thing.
Right.
He's over it. When you're a generational plumber,
like, dude, I wanted your head to get
overexposed.
I wanted your head to get crushed in backyard wrestling. I let you backyard wrestle in my house. It didn't work, so now I'm actually stuck.
He didn't want me to be a plumber, but he let me do that, right?
Yeah, now I'm stuck working with you. Gosh, like my plan. Talk about a plan backfiring. But I really think that there's something there in that the community. Yes, there is value in scale. And all of us want to grow. All of us want our businesses to do more revenue, more profit, so we can be more successful and be there to support our families. But there is something about in a world that's gone increasingly digital, in a place where nobody goes into, or very few people, and in our community, we just like lost the local fish store. And like everyone's buying it in supermarkets or online. It's like you used to be able just to go into the guy and he'd be like, how big of the piece of salmon do you want? He put his knife down the thing, And I obviously I'm a small business guy, so I value that in an incredible way.
Yeah, it's a human experience, right?
But there is also the value in being that person in your community who provides that service. And yes, there is a cap on that. And that's where kind of franchises come in. But Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, maybe Musk, he might actually figure out some like robotics, something that's going to be the plumbing. But like, they can't figure it out and they can't take that away from you. And there's got to be so much pride when you deliver that. When you deliver that product with your bare hands and you provide this, there's got to be a level of gratification that I can't provide as an insurance
There
agent.
is.
I feel good when I help people, but like, I got to lean on people like you, and you end up coming and saving the day.
Aaron, there is. You're hitting the nail on the head, because do you know what brings the greatest sense of satisfaction to me and my team? I think at this point, between my two franchises, we have over 1,500 5-star Google reviews online. And they're not just the star rating. They're the ones, they tell stories, and it's, most of them are emotional, in how, and it may come off like heroic, but it's in service. And it's like, this is why we're doing it. And the truth is, for every 5-star review, there's probably someone who internalized a 3.5-star experience, right? Maybe they didn't put it online. But I crave that feedback because I want to know how we can better serve the right people more of what they want and build those deeper, more meaningful relationships. You think about those big companies, and it's like it's the view of the law of compounding. Like if you look at my P&L right now, particularly in the plumbing business, because it's more predictable, it's less volatile than restoration, it's unimpressive. Like there's really nothing at the bottom line. But what we're building up is reputation, relationship, consistency, and brand equity. So it's like, how long can you stay the course? Like delaying gratification, delaying gain to keep hustling and keep serving and keep grinding, but in the spirit of building something that is going to last. And, when you've been over serving a market and raising the bar in an industry for, 3 years, as One Tom Plumber in Long Island has, it starts to show. And you're like, man, I wonder where we'll be by 5 years. I wonder where we'll be at 10 years. And there's this sense of like, just keep raising the bar on yourself, which you hope raises the bar in an industry, which then over delivers and over serves people. That ultimately it's those good vibes that will come back, and financially you believe that there'll be the payoff that makes it all worth it.
100%. There's no better segue or ending to keep hustling and just saying that if you've started a business, if you're doing that business, there's only one mistake that you can make in these businesses. And I think you'll agree with me, but if you don't, please jump in. You're from Staten Island. You can say whatever you want. If you start cutting the corners because you think that you can make a couple of dollars. And I promise you, and we have this in our business, and my father's recipes always used to say, you may think that this guy's making a lot of money now. You may think that this guy, but we've been doing it for 50 years. And if you want to do it for 50 years or pass it on to your son one day, or your daughter, or your son-in-law, whoever, or your daughter-in-law, whatever, you got to do it the right way, and the things will come. My father had a saying, and it used to drive me nuts early in my career. We never sell our friends. They will all come around eventually. And I've seen that in 25 years. Some of them took longer than I expected. Some of them took longer than I would have wanted. But if I force them into the relationship with me, or just to save a buck or cut the corner in the system, ultimately, and it's easy to say, you and I looking back at it, but I think we'll agree that that's the one mistake you can make that you can never come back from, because you can never undo that wrong turn that you made intentionally. Unintentionally, mistakes happen.
No, you listen. You can't run a bad reputation, or a bad taste in someone's mouth is a lot harder when it speaks to, something that's at the core of the business or the value proposition. So I think that it's all about building on solid ground, and it takes time to pour a really strong foundation.
I absolutely love that. Phil, you've given me more energy today. I'm not even going to finish my coffee. So I am so happy you came on, even though you're from Staten Island, went to Long Island and passed over any of the real boroughs. But that's totally fine. Like, you literally could have gone, I live in Queens now. You could have gone Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, like anywhere. But yet you ended up. But it's fine. We all do crazy things. It's fine. It's totally
if you
fine.
don't have anything nice to say, just
no one's perfect. Exactly. No one's perfect. It's totally fine. We wouldn't have anything to talk about had you lived anywhere normal. Phil, as you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them and to their hustle. So with that, I will say thank you again for being here. Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for inspiring my hustle. And the floor is yours.
Here's one that's resonating for me right now. The work works on you more than you work on it.
Absolutely love that. Keep hustling. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, just like Phil, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.